you mentioned before, both of you are known petrol heads. What was your take on Need for Speed?
Listen, I love cars. I love movies with cars. I love movies that have got little stories, love stories with cars as well. And Aaron Paul, I became such a fan of his from Breaking Bad that I was so happy to see him get a lead kind of role. The great thing about this movie, in my opinion, I mean, listen, it's a typical very fast car movie, some great stunts, there's a little love story, etc., etc. Everyone's kind of happy. But the great thing for me is that there wasn't that much CGI used. There was a lot of the stunts were done. A lot of the driving was real driving. Of course, there are, in the huge stunts, of course, you got to be careful about those. But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I thought it was one of those, let's get it. It's got a good little story to it. But the cars are amazing. I mean, the Koenigsegg car is unbelievable. But the Mustang, which is going to be coming to South Africa, so I think that's also quite cool for South Africans. Is, they're going to be able to drive this kind of a car. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. But anything to do with cars, I'm going to love it in any case.
Paul, what was your take on the movie?
Likewise, I think a lot of what Sasha was saying rings true for me. And I like the fact that in an age where there's a lot of CGI, there's a lot of digital elements happening in movies these days, as Sasha mentioned, the fact that they really did a whole lot of the stunts. Not to digress, but I was watching the making of some of the James Bond movies a little while ago, and the stunts that stand out when there's a car involved in any of these action movies, the stunts that really stand out are the ones that are done with real stunt drivers, with real cars, regardless of how many cars they end up going through, because during many of these stunts, they'll write off 3, 4, 5, 6 cars trying to get it right. And I think, as Sasha mentioned briefly, that's one of the great things about this movie. I'm a fan of all of these franchise movies, dare I say the Fast and the Furious franchise as well, as I'm sure you are, Sasha. But I think often you're let down because the stunts you find out later are CGI. It's not exactly as it appeared. But in Need for Speed, as you'll see on DVD, which is out now, you'll be able to see those stunts. They were legit. They were really, those cars were really driven. Those stunts were really done, and Sasha really beat me.
Sasha,
in a virtual world.
Sasha, what's your all-time favorite must-see car movie?
Oh, wow. Well, listen, I mean, I've got to say, recently the movie Rush that came out, which is the Formula One movie, but in terms of movies with cars that have got some unbelievable stunts and car racing, I've got to say there's a stunt and racing scene in a movie called Ronin with Robert De Niro, which to me still is one of the best racing scenes I've ever seen street car racing scenes that I've seen in a long time.
Paul?
Probably the scene with the Aston Martin and a pair of Alfa Romeo 159s.
Yes.
And I know Alfa is as mad as I am about Alfa Romeo and loves the brand as much as I do. But how it's possible for a 159 to outrun an Aston, I'm not quite sure. The opening scenes of that James Bond movie where they're going through the tunnel and through the quarries, and again, that's an example of where I think they used 5 or 6 different Aston Martins just to shoot that one sequence. But that has to be the one that stands out in my mind. That was incredible. I'm just trying to think whether it was it Casino Royale?
It was no, Quantum of Solace.
That's it. Okay, Quantum of Solace. Yeah. That definitely for me, but probably more because of the badges that were on the cars than the actual scene itself, I guess.
Totally agree there.